Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of Project Fairlady. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a break from the bodywork. As you can see where I am on this thing, I've just bare metaled the A-pillars across the top, you know, continuing on with the bodywork. Anyway, bloody getting sick of it, so I thought what I might do, I might move on to the T-tops because they do need quite a bit of work, and basically they too are really part of the bodywork. Now the T-tops on this thing, I wouldn't call them in good condition, but they're not the worst I've seen. The issues with these T-tops is the mouldings have quite a few dents in them. There's no black left on them, so all the mouldings need replacing. Now I do have all new mouldings for the car, and the T-tops are just part of that. Now to get to the T-top mouldings, you need to disassemble these T-tops almost completely. They also need a little bit of bodywork repairs done to them. The passenger side T-top across the outside has had a couple of rust bubbles in it, which I flaked off. There's a couple of little holes in there, so a section of that needs to be cut out and tigged up. The one on this side doesn't have anything like that on it. And also one of the plastic end pieces is broken on it, so you know it needs to be stripped down quite substantially for that to be repaired. The main sort of side seals and everything seem to be pretty good, but there's signs that they've been leaking a little bit, and I've actually already pulled the driver's side one apart, and it looks like someone's already had it apart many years ago. Like, I mean many years ago. It's like a really old, by the look of it anyway, teardown that's happened on this top. There's bloody windscreen sealant fucking squirted everywhere. There was a broken off screw, and just generally a lot of fuckery gone on. Hopefully I'm not going to find that with the passenger side top when I start to pull it apart, but they need to be taken all the way down to the point of separating the glass from the outside panel. So basically that's all you get left with is this outside panel. Now this outside panel here appears to have been leaking. This is the end where the glass goes on, and if you look there you can see that the seal doesn't actually go right to the end. It's been pushed off, probably in its original assembly when the car was made, I would assume. And basically once I had the thing completely stripped down, this was very loose against the glass and basically fell off. I had planned on removing it anyway, but I certainly didn't have to worry about how I was going to get it off because it basically fell off, which in my opinion would have meant that it was leaking quite substantially on this end. And also of note, this end here where the seal is missing from there is an area where on the rest of the top there was heaps and heaps of windscreen sealant and stuff like that squirted in randomly, and I'd say they were trying to fix this problem, which they never went as far as separating the glass from this metal frame, which I'd say is where all their problems sort of started from. So this doesn't appear to have any issues as far as rust holes. Both the ends seem to be in pretty good condition, so that's, you know, that's pretty reasonable. I've just got a few bits and pieces to deal with. As I say, it's been sort of dicked around with a bit. Other various bits and pieces have sort of come apart, and all that'll need to be dealt with on reassembly. But at least I'm in a position now where I can deal with these metal cappings to get them all painted up, and then, you know, I have all new parts to go on it for reassembly. So what I thought I might do, I thought, oh, that was a bit of a friggin' effort. And I thought, I had a bit of a look for some info on how to do it, and I found a couple of videos on how to replace the moulding, but tearing it down this far and separating the glass from the outside capping is slightly different to just replacing the moulding. So I thought I might just do a little bit of an instructional on it. So here it is, guys, how to completely tear down your T-tops so that you can totally reseal them, do any panel work that you need to do, and make them 100% good as new. Alright, get that one over there, out on a nice cushiony table, and let's start pulling it apart. Alrighty, so this is the passenger side T-top, left hand side Australia, driver's side probably US. So that's the issue that I found there. You can see, you know, there's a little bit of a bubble there and there's a little bit of a hole, so I'll probably just cut a little piece out of there and dig a new bit in. You can also see this cap here is broken on the end. So let's flip it over and get into it, eh? So the first thing we've got to do, get this cover here off. Actually, before that, I'll just get rid of the sunshade. Right, that sort of highlights the colour of the glass too. You can see on this thing, I don't know if they're all like that, I assume they probably are. How the glass is smoked, it's sort of a, I don't know, a browny sort of a coloured tint to it. And that's in the glass. Alright, so we've got to get this piece here off across the front. Now, it's just a matter of one screw on either side, but we have to sort this handle area out here. So your locking lever has to come off, or your locking button thing. And then, obviously, then you have to, you know, get your handle up. So this guy just levers off like so. Very easy. Just pops straight up. And we just lift this handle up, push the lock up, lift the handle up. Now we should be ready to take this off. Phil said screwdriver. One screw on either side. One here. And one here. Alright, I'll get those off. We'll get that guy off. Now to get this off, oh, they're actually not meant to come off like that, guys. They're meant to be anchored to this piece in behind. Makes it a little bit easier for me to get it off, but I'll show you once I've got this off what the go with that is. I forgot one more thing. There's a screw down in through here that you have to undo first. Bloody hell, Trevor. Late in the day, guys, late in the day. So, yep, screw in there, middle of the handle. That guy's got to come out. Alright, now we should be able to just get this out. Like I say, normally you'll just leave these over, it'll touch. And that should just sort of come out. Turn that, and away you go. And that's what I was saying there. This one's just about off as well. They have these little plastic tabs that hold these guys on, right in there. And you can see they're all missing, bar one on that one. And that's a real pain in the bum. And this one, obviously they're all broken off on it. So again, another thing I have to repair when the time comes, you know, which I will probably do on camera, because there will be a complete repair and reassembly video, which is not this video. This is purely just a disassembly video. And I will be going through the complete reassembly of all this sort of stuff too. Anyway, alright, so that's that piece off. And what that does, exposes all this mechanism here. Next thing we've got to do, we've got to get this big seal off the front. It's got to come out now. There's 4 screws holding that guy in. So I'll just reposition the camera and we'll start getting that out. So 2 of the screws are accessible and 2 of them are a little bit tricky. 2 in the center here. Just a matter of getting this rubber pulled down. Get that guy out of the way. I'm not sure if you can see in there. But that is one of our screws right there. So we'll get that guy out. Another one here in the opposite position. And the 2 end screws, you have to kind of carefully push the rubber down, and right there is a screw. Now, right in the way of the camera, but we'll be good. Let's get that one off. Doesn't like me. A little bit tricky. You don't want to friggin' go too crazy with it and tear the rubber, you know. Same on this side here. Got to push the rubber down to get to the screw on the end. Again, just be a little bit careful with it. So far so good on this thing. It doesn't appear to have been dicked around with like the other one was. Now what we've got to do now is release this. So this metal piece here that holds the seal in, it has some double-sided tape attaching it to the metal part of the frame, like the opposite side of this, the opposite corner to this sort of thing. So what we've got to do is get down in here and just lever the tape apart, and it should come out pretty easily. All right, that's coming off easy. That'll be very nice. So just be a little bit careful at this stage. There'll be bits of the double-sided tape holding it on, and it's a good idea just to get in there with a knife where you can, rather than rip the whole thing to pieces. You may be able to just cut a little section that's holding it, and certainly makes it a lot easier to seal it up later on. There we go. Alright, so that's that section off. See, I've left the two end screws sitting in there. They're a bit of a bugger to sort of get out. You can sort of work your way getting them out, but they'll stay in there. They won't get lost. They won't sort of drop out. Good way of you knowing where they are. Now this is where we start to vary from just removing the trim pieces underneath. If you're just removing the trim at this stage, you don't need to remove this, because this piece here is all this seal and everything. You normally just bend that back and then continue on to undo all the bolts and everything through here to remove this. But because we're going to be separating the glass from the frame, it's easier to just remove this now. Then we don't have to worry about trying to bend it to get these pins out, you know, that go through there. They're sort of in the way of you getting that out. So what I'll do now, we'll just gently get under this with a spatula or a knife and start getting all this apart. Now this is where the other one was a lot easier to get apart, because it had been dicked around with. All this was just basically bedded into really soft windscreen sealant, and it doesn't appear that this one has been mucked around with at all. It actually seems a lot nicer. So let's get all this apart. So then in there, two screws on the side, and we don't have to, but we'll take this end screw from the moulding on the outside out as well, just so it's not in our way for sliding a tool under there. Now we should be able to start getting this all apart here. It's a little bit tricky. There's some seals that kind of wrap around, and sort of no matter what you do, you're going to end up bloody damaging stuff. But just do your best, guys. You just do your best. So you can see what I'm doing there. I'm just trying to get this under there. Actually, I'll go and get a different spatula. Alright, so I'll just keep working under this to hopefully get this off without destroying it. go. That's that. Exactly the same deal for the other side. Over there. I'll get that one off. Then we'll move on to this. Alright, so I took the other end off camera. No need to, you know, be seeing that. Alright, so what we've got to do now is remove everything from under here. So we've got 2 of these guys, one on either side, one over here, and we've got 3 of these guys. One there, and another one down here. These are all 10mm, so we can just use a battery ratchet on them. So yeah, the forward ones are just washered nuts, and the inner ones are a Phillips headed 10mm. So I'll get all those out, eh? So what these 2 bolts are for, guys, the 2 with these nuts on them, they're the bolts that you see from the other side. You know, these guys here, that's what they are. Mine are in very poor condition. I do have new ones for them. So yeah, they're just going in the bin. So you can just push those through, and they have a seal on them as well, so you keep the seal. Make sure you don't lose it. So that's the bolt with the seal on it, and then your nut goes on there like so. See, that one came out without the seal, so we just got to get the seal out and fit it to it so we can put it away. There it is. That's that guy. They go back together real easy, guys. The seal has a recess in it for the shank of the bolt to sort of sit in, you know, like so. Alright, that handle can go down now because those sides aren't there to sort of lock it in. So we're pretty much ready to remove this main plastic unit, which houses our handle and our whole mechanism and everything. So what we have is there is double-sided tape all the way across here, and there is double-sided tape and a seal underneath the front here. So we've really just got to get in between these, lever it apart until we kind of get that seal cracked, until we feel that we're kind of good. And how I did the other one, I was just working both. Did a bit of work along here, a bit of work along the front, until you eventually feel that it's ready to come out. Obviously we don't want to put too much force into this. We don't want to bend this edge here. But we do want to separate it. Just pushing down will actually push through the double-sided tape as well. But, you know, just one of those things, guys. There's many ways to skin a cat. Whatever you feel comfortable with doing. It's usually the best thing to do. Alright, so we'll just work our way right through doing this. So the tight spot appears to be where these bolts went through, which makes sense. It's been clamped very hard in that position probably when it was assembled. So it's bonded really well through this area, whereas it was really quite easy to get the scraper in underneath all the rest of it. But these little spots, they're not happy. Alright, that's starting to feel pretty loose now, guys. I think we're almost at the point where it's going to separate. Alright, we are looking good. And if you can, just trim any seals off so you don't pull them to pieces too much. And that is our mechanism, guys. We will now put that to one side. So from here, if you want to replace your moulding across the top, that's how far you've got to go to get to the screws. But as I said earlier, you don't have to take those side pieces off. You just bend them out slightly and then carry on with trying to remove this section. So as you can see across here, got these little washer head, Phillips head screws. One on the end which I've taken out, that one, and then these two on this end over here. So we'll get those out, and what that'll do, that'll allow that piece of crap to come off. Alrighty. Alrighty. So that should have freed our seal. Ah, there it is. It fell off without me even trying. So there you go. Oh, sorry, not our seal. Our bloody moulding on the outside. So this one, as I say, I don't know if you can see on camera, but there's quite a dent just there, and it's got some really heavy scratches and stuff on it. Plus all the, you know, the colouring's gone off it, the rubberized sort of coating's gone. It's definitely seen better days. Now, the only thing that's left to do is to separate these, which isn't really hard to do. So if you're just kind of doing the trim pieces, you actually have to be pretty careful, because you can see that that is starting to come apart there already. Now that's probably an indication that it's actually been leaking there, because this is, you know, obviously a direct spot where water can ingress into the vehicle between this gap here, which I would suggest is possibly one of the main leak points of these things. Because there's really just only some double-sided foam tape that holds it together. So I'll just kind of try and carefully do this. So we've got to get it out from under these little tabs on the end. So we've got to sort of pull it out without making too much of a mess. There we go. Alright, that's that. So that was the end of the seal. At the end that I was just showing you, you can see there's dust and stuff between it. So you can see that the bond was obviously broken a long time ago between there, and it possibly, not 100%, but possibly was leaking there. And as I mentioned with this, we've got a bit of a hole, and I have noticed with these T-tops, they'll generally go underneath this rubber here. So I assume there was possibly something corrosive that Nissan was using to bond these with, or there's just a particular spot there that seems to get really badly affected by this. But as I said, there it is. Look at that, guys. Bit of a bloody mess. So even if you didn't have a hole forming on the outside, it's a good idea to get those sort of corner rubbers off. Check underneath them, because you may be able to just clean it up, put a bit of rust converter on, throw some paint on it, and it may never really be an issue. But you can see obviously from this one, it's a little bit too late, as we've already gone through. Like I say, this side looks all right, but it could very well be the same under there. I'll get that off and I'll sort of have a look at it. But you know, a bit of a pain in the bum, chopping them out and just ticking a piece in there, but that's just sort of the way it is. At least now it means I've got something that's fairly easy to handle in the painting stage, and fairly easy to handle in the repair stage too, because trying to repair something like this with the glass in is near impossible, you know, without doing further damage to stuff. So what I'll do, I'll leave this video here. This can be the disassembly video, and once these are all painted and I have everything I need to do the reassembly on these guys, we'll do the reassembly video. Hopefully be part 1 and part 2 straight after each other. I won't release this until I'm almost ready to get them back together. So as always guys, thanks for stopping by the Aussie Shed. Bloody pleasure to have you here. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and remember to drop by my website, upperhandperformanceproducts.com.au, for a few unique pieces that are made for the fair lady that might suit your car too. Alright, see you on the next one. Cheers.